Being the father of two children who were not that long ago young children, and being married to the mother of two children, I know something about that great wish parents sometimes have for a quiet place, a place of peace. I know that sometimes it seems as if the dreamed of safe haven is nowhere to be found. I've known and been the parent who desires peace from worry about their adolescent children. I've also known couples who desperately long for peace with each other. I've met a refugee seeking peace away from her homeland, where family members have been murdered and other violence threatened. I've visited a woman who prays for peace, a final respite from the pain of the cancer which is consuming her. I've spoken with an alienated son who wants to make peace with his father and just doesn't know how. I know a man in a psychiatric ward who aches for peace from his obsessive thoughts. You know them too. So very many people crying out for peace. Maybe you, yourself, and people you love. Longing for peace in mind and heart and body, in relationships, in the workplace, city, nation, world, church. In comparison to the size and gravity of our and others' wants, the disciples' desire for a time of rest and quiet almost seems trivial. Yet, however small, this yearning, this pining, is something we all have, like that expressed by one of my favorite poets, Gerard Manley Hopkins. When peace, will you peace? I'll not play hypocrite to my own heart. I yield you do come sometimes, but that piecemeal peace is poor peace. Piecemeal peace. That's about the best it seems we humans can achieve. Here and there, every once in a while, we do see reconciliation, healing, harmony. But all too often we use the word peace to mean lack of visible conflict, where mistrust and sometimes even hatred simmers just beneath the surface. All we can know, it seems, is the Pax Romana type of peace, a peace enforced by threat of violence and destruction, Cold War, détente. We keep peace by leaving scenes of potential conflict, ignoring issues that need to be dealt with, glossing over strained relationships with empty pleasantries, saccharine smiles. Piecemeal peace, pretend peace. God's peace is of an entirely different nature. God's peace is that peace which Paul says surpasses all human understanding. And it is, firstly, pure gift, that which we long for from the marrow of our bones, that fundamental rightness with ourselves, with each other, with God, that we keep discovering the world cannot give. And let's be quite honest here. It's also a strange peace, even a disruptive peace, a peace that often demands suffering, conflict, the pouring out of self, all following the example of and in the likeness of Jesus, who won our peace by giving his life. All in the likeness of Jesus, who in love gave himself on a cross, uniting us who were far off. Jesus, who was killed to kill our hostility. Jesus, who was broken for our wholeness. This morning's Eucharist, and every Eucharist, is a celebration of the peace won by Jesus' passion, death, and resurrection, our place of rest. Here we, like the disciples, and as disciples, here we come apart for a while. Here we are taught by Jesus. Here we are fed by Jesus, given refreshment, guidance, comfort. But as those first disciples learned, so we do too. The respite is all too short, for here we are also challenged. For our God, who is rest, is also restless. There is work to be done in this world where so many of God's children cry out for peace. At every Eucharist, as an enacted sign of our Christian call to reconciliation and unity, we exchange and share the peace, the sacrament of shalom established by Jesus. It's an extension down through the ages of the peace Jesus offered his disciples after the resurrection. That wonderful blessing of communion with God, world, neighbor, and self, continually brought about by the Spirit who dwells among us. As a sign of God's gift of unity, we share the living bread, the cup of salvation. In Jesus' gift, this Eucharist, this banquet of peace, both fills us and also makes us hungry. Hungry enough to keep praying for the gift. Hungry enough to keep striving for peace among the brothers and sisters of the human family. So after having been fed and nourished by the sacrament this morning, let us go forth to bring to the world in which we live and move and find our being. Let us go forth and, in word and deed, bring to God's people, God's children, the voice and embrace of our God of peace.